And to drill down on Rio Tinto's latest results and developments with the miner, I was joined a short time ago by the Chief Financial Officer, Guy Elliott. Guy Elliott, welcome to Lateline Business.
Thank you.
Well, record results and quite a turnaround from last year after some really tough business decisions for, I imagine, you in the financial controls in particular.
Well, it has been a very dramatic turnaround in our fortunes over the last 18 months or so, particularly if you look at the balance sheet, which has moved from a state of affairs where it was $38 billion of debt at the end of 2008 to just $12 billion at the end of June this year.
You've also, this afternoon, just announced a binding offer for 61% of your Alcan engineered products. I mean, presumably that's quite a sizable amount. The amount's not mentioned. But does that mean that nearly all of the Alcan albatross has gone?
Well, I think what it means is that we've completed nearly all of the sale of the downstream assets of the Alcan business. I wouldn't describe it as an albatross. They are good businesses. But we're not really the right parent for those businesses. And I think that we're moving more than 40,000 people out of the company in more than 30 countries. These have been fantastically complex transactions, and we are nearing the end of them when this engineered products sale is complete.
Tom Albanese today has said that growth is the new focus. You've got $3 billion in project development monies in 2010 already, and you've today announced an $866 million investment in the Pilbara. Now, I'm assuming that is only on the basis that this minerals resource rent tax goes ahead as planned.
Well, you're quite right to focus on growth. It is our plan to complete investments of about another $13 billion by the end of 2010. And a lot of those investments will, we hope, be made in Australia. The most important of them, of course, is the 330 million tonne expansion of iron ore in the Pilbara, which you referred to, and that we've just made the beginnings of that investment commitment recently, but we haven't taken the final decision.
But you say you haven't taken the final decision on the Pilbara. Again, is that dependent on the minerals resource rent tax going through unchanged?
Well, the tax uncertainty that we faced earlier in the year did cause us to pause on several of our investments. We have reached agreement with the government, but of course, you know, that does need to go through a period of consultation, and it needs to go through Parliament.
What if, as might happen, the Greens end up holding the balance of power and start cutting a rather different deal, either an increased tax or, in any event, very different conditions for you?
Well, I think that we do need to watch this situation very carefully, but I'm not going to get entangled in the election, which of course is about to happen in Australia. And I think that, you know, the decision that we hope to make later in the year will be much better informed than we can be today.
Yesterday, Guy Elliott, at Diggers and Dealers, David Flanagan of Atlas Iron was crying foul and saying that the minerals resource rent tax is a barrier to entry for junior players. And he went as far as to say that you and the two other big miners designed it as such.
I don't really see it like that. The tax as it was originally proposed really was a major problem to the whole mining industry. And we felt that by a much more constructive approach of engagement with the government, we were able to design something which, while I don't think it was perfect, was a great deal better than the first proposal. Remember that the original proposal affected the entire mining industry, whereas this one is confined to the iron and coal businesses.
But David Flanagan's right, isn't he? It does make your competitors sort of one level down. It does create a hurdle for them. It means that a company like Atlas doesn't have all the assets that you have to write off against its assessable income.
Look, I think each company's situation is going to be different, of course. The important thing is that the government has consulted the mining industry, is continuing to consult the mining industry under the process that's been set forth under the Minister and under Don Argus. And we are very much going to be part of that consultation. as I'm sure will many other mining companies.
Your chairman today, Jan du Plessis, talked about developing your relationship with China as a key priority and building on your latest joint venture with Chalco on Simandou. Now, we hear late today that something more about the Stern-Hu case, that in fact 2 Chinese executives from other Chinese companies were jailed back in March for leaking information to Rio. Are you a bit surprised about the timing of this coming out today?
Look, I've just only moments ago seen this piece of news on the wires. I really don't know anything about it, I'm afraid. But to go back to how you started your question, I think that it is very important to us to establish a sensible relationship with our Chinese customers and shareholder. The fact is that a quarter of our sales at the moment go to China, and the Chinese buyers have a very great influence over the other 3/4 of our sales, which may be taking place elsewhere. So we wish to be important suppliers to the Chinese market, and I think that the signature with Chalco of the joint venture last week was a very good indication of relations being back on an even keel.
Finally, Guy Elliott, you are bullish on growth as far as China is concerned?
Absolutely. I mean, we certainly do see the signs of a slightly less strong growth in the second half as stimulus, the effects of stimulus moderate. But the important point to make, I think, is that growth in China, we believe, will remain very strong for the period ahead as industrialization continues, as urbanization accompanies that. And even if we don't see rates of growth at double-digit levels, we certainly foresee high levels of growth continuing in China for several years to come. I also, though, should caution that this won't be a straight line growth. It may be a bit jagged. We will see volatility from time to time. But I think the overall picture is extremely positive.
Guy Elliott, busy day for you. I thank you for taking the time to talk to Lateline Business.
Thank you very much, Dickie.